So I didn't realize it when I decided to do honorable closure with you today. The idea of honorable closure is a process, so it's not like we're going to do it today, but to give you the tool of honorable closure. I didn't realize that the great cultural anthropologist, educator, and inspirer, Angeles Arian, was no longer with us, that she had passed in 2014 of pneumonia. She was born in 1940, so she lived a good 74 years, but she is missed. Angeles Arian became famous for her book, The Fourfold Way, Walking the Path of the Warrior, Teacher, Healer, and Visionary. And she was all of those. This tiny little woman from Basque, Spain, who lived in, worked in, graduated from some of the most prestigious educational institutions in our country, and then became a professor and a teacher and an inspirer of the Fortune 500 companies with her ideas. She gave us 4 rules for life. You may have heard them. Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, and don't be attached to the results. Isn't that great? Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, and don't be attached to the results. That is really good, isn't it? So she was a warrior, I would say, of the heart. And that cradling came from her teachings about the intelligence of the heart being the core of everything. And so checking in with your heart is a very important practice. Because there's 4 chambers of the heart. You're navigating the fullness, the openness, the clarity, and the strength of your own heart at all times. Then you're connected to the intelligence within you that brings together your brain and your gut and the heavens and the earth. And so by asking yourself, by doing a heart checkup throughout the day, am I full-hearted? Am I open-hearted? Am I clear-hearted? Am I strong-hearted? By doing this, you stay centered in all your intelligences. There's lots of scientific evidence now that we get gut feelings and we get heart sensations, and even the physical heart changes through different emotions. There are many neurons in the heart, many neurons in the gut, so that means that the brain and the heart and the stomach, our whole body, it's a connected source of information for us. A few weeks ago, my cousin Chris sent me a picture of her family, 3 generations of grandchildren with her new twin grandbabies. And they were in the neonatal intensive care unit for 3.5 weeks during this pandemic. And she said, when they finally came home, my heart is bursting. And just looking at that photograph, I felt it also. I said, I'm gonna have to print this, make a poster out of this, send it around, because I feel like the energy of that picture just made my heart so full. What are we doing here? Coming in and out? What do you think, Kevin?
I think you're good. If not, we'll go here.
Okay, great. So many of you may have felt this also when you looked at your grandchild for the first time, a newborn, or your own child, or you had that sense of that one so fresh and pure from heaven, embodying so much love that it actually transmitted into your own heart experience. And similarly, you may have experienced pain in your heart, grieving the loss of a beloved or a family member, even just saying goodbye to someone at the airport. So often you see people crying and touching their heart. It's an indication of how you really feel, because heart intelligence is a direct experience that cannot be denied. Guru Mai Chidvilasananda says, when you are unsure about the future, keep doing what is in front of you, right in front of you with all your heart. So when you don't know what to do, when your future is unclear, just keep doing what is right in front of you with all your heart and with great love, and what is meant for you will find you. Isn't that so true? So honorable closure begins with forgiveness and an open heart. It's a ritual, a meaningful and constructive way to help us to forgive, understand, release challenging experiences in our life. And like any ritual, before you do it, you might want to set aside some time to prepare, put on comfortable clothes, light a candle, create sacred space and pray, all of that, which we do here before we have our service. And then say something like this: it's my intention to bring honorable closure to, and then you name the situation or the person or the relationship, for the best and the highest good of all. And just remember that healing does not take place in the fast lane. We're not going to do honorable closure in 5 minutes. You have to give it all the time and all the space it needs. And just like forgiveness work, it's an onion. You do one layer at a time. There are 4 practices to honorable closure. Welcome, Milas. And the first practice is gratitude. The Kakunas say, bless what you want to strengthen in this world and give no attention to anything you don't. Rarely do we realize that if we simply take time to marvel and be thankful at life's gifts, then we activate this opportunity to increase their influence in our lives. So we bless what we want to strengthen, and we take our attention away from those things that we don't. So the first practice of honorable closure is looking at what you're grateful for, even if it's a divorce, even if it's the loss of a job, even if it's moving somewhere and you don't really want to go there because your husband got transferred, and so you're doing all this stuff. What are you grateful for right now, at this time? And so you express your heartfelt gratitude, maybe for the people you've met, the times you've shared, the love you've shared. You find those things to be grateful for. So I do want you to know that I am immensely grateful for these last 2 years and for every single person in this room. I will never forget your love and your unique light in the world. The second practice of honorable closure is positive impact. Even if it's been difficult, how has this experience or this relationship benefited you? Have you been changed for the better? Acknowledge the gifts, the insights, the lessons learned. Lola, come up here. Lola, come. Come here, baby. Come here, Lola. She's like, what are you doing? I'm not supposed to come up here. Okay, so anyway, that wasn't planned. But what I'd like to say is one of the positive impacts of moving to Key West is that you healed my dog. Really, Lola was an insecure rescue that ran away and didn't trust me. And this town is so dog friendly. Every time we opened the door and went outside, someone gave her the attention she never got as a puppy. She was like not given any attention the first 3 years of her life. I got her when she was 3. And this experience has turned this insecure animal. Sharon, you're not doing your job. Bring her forward. She has become this very secure animal, this very calm animal, from someone who really did not feel confident. Similarly, I can say for me that Key West has been a very strengthening experience, that the larger Key West experience has been, for me, one of the most professionally fulfilling experiences of my life. And also, I met Kim, who helped me to heal my phobia of being photographed and videoed, and I just let that go here. So those are some of many positive impacts that you all have had in my life. The challenges is the third aspect, the third practice of this idea of honorable closure. So with all transitions in life experiences, it can be emotionally, psychologically, socially, and spiritually challenging. And it's important to be honest about it, to talk about it, to grieve the losses, to experience but then release all the myriad of emotions. Whether it's anger, blaming, resentment, to take that poison out of you, to identify it. And it may take years with some losses. With a divorce, they say, as long as you were married, that's probably how long it's going to take for you to get through all that pain. And it's not funny, but it's really true, that sometimes we repress the best parts because the resentment and the anger and the judgment holds that down. If we're filled with resentment because of whatever the challenge was, it takes a lot of energy to resend it, resend it, resend it. It's said that physiologically it takes 24 hours for us to recover energetically from anger. It's a very toxic emotion. So if you've been angry for years at your ex-husband, if you've been angry because somebody left you or died, or, that energy is killing you. It's like taking poison and expecting somebody else to die when you have resentment and anger, and it's chronic over time. So identifying the challenge and the opportunities for growth, I think for me, one of the biggest challenge that I had here in Key West was being able to know where I stood with people. And there's so many diverse people in Key West that you can't tell. Someone might have like a, rainbow t-shirt and angel wings and ride a bicycle and just really not be conscious at all about some of the values that you think would go along with that costume. They could be totally, like a very violent, a very non-conscious environmentally person, and I found here in Key West that it's just a microcosm of the world. There's as much inauthenticity here in Key West as there is anywhere else. There's as much hypocrisy as anywhere else. People could have a really strong stance on equality with one thing, but not give any care at all to another. They say one human family and they'll throw some money at something, but they don't mean it. And that has been incredibly sobering for me as a person, because I've been coming to Key West since I was 15 months old. I've been coming here a long time and I love this place, but when you visit, you can't really see beneath the surface of things. So I challenge you, Key Westerners, to become more transparent and authentic and real and honest and truthful, and to grow those virtues on this island, to take, like some people are doing now because of the coronavirus, taking each other to task because we love each other. This is what you said, this is what that means, this is, a dialogue we need to have out in the open. And I have to say, living in Bahama Village has been painful. Really seeing the poverty here and the racism up close and personal, and also having friends in the ministry that are biracial and African American, and hanging out with them and seeing how people treat them has been shocking to me. I didn't grow up in the South. I grew up in the North, and I was very sheltered from racism. So it's been a very challenging experience, but it's had a positive impact on my life. It's made me really committed to making a difference with the next generation. And then the fourth process that we do with honorable closure is reparation. It's like in the 12-step programs when you do your fourth and fifth steps, where you look at how you've harmed other people and then how can you make amends. So reparations are really important. How have we caused injury to ourselves and to others through our fear or confusion or lack of understanding? And we have to take full responsibility for the role that we played in the situation. I like to live my life by the Scout's honor. Leave the place and the person better than you found it. And sometimes you have to go back and make amends. Sometimes you have to rectify wrongs, restore peace of mind, say what needs to be said or ask what needs to be asked, so there are no regrets. What do I need to rectify? And what can I commit to ensure that I'm being responsible? I know that one of the things that may have caused injury here at Unity of the Keys from me is that I was not evolved when I got here. I really take ministry seriously, and I have some incredible role models. And I know I'm not that. I am so imperfect. And I was so imperfect when I got here that I think I had PTSD. And I think a lot of you did too, because you had just survived a hurricane and been without a minister for years. But I know myself from the evacuations in California and from some of what I experienced working as a youth service crisis counselor in Jacksonville, one of the most violent cities we have here in Florida. I was not my whole self. And so I thank you for also helping me to heal, and I apologize for any woundedness that may have been passed to you. I've been involved in restorative justice, and I just want to tell you one experience that I had that changed my life. It was when I was a live-in mom and counselor in a rehabilitation center on the eastern shore of Maryland, where they shipped in inner city kids from gangs in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. that hated each other, and put them out in this place in the country where they were too afraid to run away. And that is something I learned about city folk, that they are terrified of the noises in the country. So it turned out it was a really good place for inner city kids to be, because they weren't going to go out there with those coyotes. They weren't going to go out there with that, awful, horrible, no good, very bad wilderness where we lived. And so it was often that, I was being called mom by kids of all shades that were much taller than I was. And I knew this one teenager to be the gentlest, most loving, and kind person. And he had beat up this tiny little kid. And I was involved in the restorative justice plan. And so I brought them into the room together, and this 6'2" kid who had beaten up this tiny little kid was shocked. Like, to him, that could not have been the size of the person that came up behind him in the alley. For him, he was fighting for his life. He had grown up in such violence that if you're in a dark alley and someone comes up behind you, you just turn and punch. He had no idea that this was just a little kid. And he was so apologetic. He was so freaked out at his own reactive behavior that these two kids became friends and totally forgave each other, and he became like this kid's protector. And I offer you that because I think that we are often like that kid. We just react. And we don't realize what we've done. We don't realize that that person is not the person we think they are, or that person is not like the experience of trauma we had. We're just not conscious. But when we take time for honorable closure, and when we bring together the people we have wronged, and we talk about it, and we try and take it to another level, we're practicing respect for life, respect for others, and for this unique journey that we're on. I mean, could you have ever imagined the incredible, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the films about it or read any of the books about the reconciliation trials in South Africa, but when Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela took that on, and there's a book called No Future Without Forgiveness, I don't think anyone could have even imagined what would happen when people told the story to the families of why they killed their son, daughter, husband, mother. The amount of compassion that flew through those courtrooms, and how the people who were the murderers became the friends of the families of the people they murdered. It was just beyond anything, I think, in our human evolution that we've ever known was possible. So if that can be forgiven, what can't we forgive, right? I mean, if people can forgive and take in people who murdered their own family members, what can't we do? There's nothing more significant in life than our capacity to love and forgive one another, and love and forgive ourselves. Angeles Arian asked people routinely on her retreats to make a pact. So I'm giving this to you. Let's make a pact. For the next 100 days, let's do something every day to bring more love into the world. Let's consciously, for 100 days, we can mark it off on our calendar, do something every day to bring more love into the world. Prayer, acts of service, personal affirmations, where we just tell someone how beautiful they are, and tell someone how wonderful they are, with no added agenda to it. Just a personal, direct affirmation. I love you is a personal affirmation. Affirmative phone calls. Call someone up with the intention simply to be an affirming presence in their life. Affirmative emails and cards. Send love notes anonymously. Drop off homemade cookies. Sing outside someone's window. Bring flowers or balloons to someone stuck in the hospital or a care center. Go shopping for a friend or neighbor. Or just bring a gift. I have a neighbor I totally adore that is always dropping off surprise presents for Lola. She has the best treats because people just tie treats for her onto my gate. It always makes me smile. Look into somebody's eyes and tell them, with words or just with your own, from your heart to theirs, how much they mean to you. Kiss someone's hand. Open a door. Carry groceries. Speak words of encouragement. And stop gossip. That's probably one of the most powerful things I learned from my teacher, Mataji. She told me, even listening to somebody else say negative things about someone you love is an ahimsa. That's the Sanskrit word for act of violence. Ahimsa. So, ahimsa. Ahimsa means nonviolence, but ahimsa is an act of violence. So you can say stop. And that can bring more love into the world. It's a true act of love to refuse to listen to negative talk, especially if they're talking about themselves, being critical about themselves. You can stop that and speak love and affirmation. Think love. Be the embodiment of love. I love you, and I am going to miss you. But you will always be with me in my heart, in my memories, in my prayers, and in my spirit. And it's been an honor to be your minister these last 2 years. And I want you to remember this, that in the beginning, we are born in love. And in the end, we will return to love. And in the middle, we get to practice. Thank you for all that you've taught me about that. I love you so much.